Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Holler Board Games. I'm Dave, and I'm here with a solo review today of a solo game, and that is Final Girl Series 3. Now, typically the way we do these reviews is we tell you a little bit about the game, we go into a rules overview, and then we come back, we give our thoughts and opinions and things like that. Since this is Series 3 of Final Girl, the game has been out for a while, we're not covering the base game. I'm going to skip the rules overviews. There's a ton of those online. I'm sure you can find them. I'm just going to be giving you my thoughts and opinion on each of the feature film boxes of Final Girl Series 3. Going to tell you a little bit about them, what I think their strengths are, what I think their weaknesses are, what I think they did good, what I think they did bad, and which IPs they're based on. All of these Final Girl games are based on an IP. It's very obvious. For those of you that do not know, Final Girl is a game. It's a solo game where you play as the final girl in a horror movie taking on a horror movie villain in a location, and they're very thematic. They're very Nightmare on Elm Street, Hellraiser, things like that. And the locations, the cool thing about these is that you can actually mix and match any of the locations, any of the final girls, and any of the killers to kind of create your own bespoke experience that you want to with that. So with all that being said, let's get right into it, and I will scooch these aside and then pull them back out one by one. So the first one that we are going to be talking about is the Falconwood Files. So Falconwood Files is kind of pretty obviously based on Stranger Things here. I really enjoyed Falconwood Files. It's one of my favorite Final Girl episodes. Series. I don't know what they call them. Feature films. I keep forgetting that they call them feature films. It's one of my favorite feature films that I have played. I'm a big Stranger Things fan. That's clearly what this one is based off of. This one has a mechanic in it where you have to find some clues to find a person and let you know where they are. It's very much the missing kid thing. I really liked that theme in here. I really like finding those clues. I like the way that mechanic worked. That kept me engaged and it kept me entertained. Overall, I like the different... There's different sort of missions and objectives in this one where you can find kind of a different person as you go along. I really like that. I really liked having the options for that and how that all works. I think this is a really strong entry into the Final Girl series. This is one, if you love Stranger Things, if you kind of like that, 1980s, early 90s kids on bikes theme, I would definitely say to pick this one up. I had a ton of fun with this one. Overall, I would rate this one a 9. Coming in at a 9 with it. It's one of my favorite ones that I've ever played in the series. So next up after that, we have Hell to Pay, and this one is based off of Hellraiser. Now, I will say that I'm not a huge Hellraiser fan. I'm a pretty big horror movie fan, but I don't care too much about the Hellraiser series. I just never have. That being said, I don't think that would have affected my opinion of this too much. This one has some mechanics, some tiles that shift around and they move. In fact, I think it's the majority of tiles that kind of shift around the board and they move around. So it makes it really hard to plan for your movements, for what you're going to do. And I understand why that's there as a mechanic, but I just kind of found it frustrating more than anything else. Final Girl's a pretty difficult game as it is, and I found those shifting tiles to make it difficult and frustrating, which is not a good combo of things. That I like. When I actually first started this one, things were going really well. I thought it was going to be really easy, and I was like, well, that's kind of weird. And then as I kept playing it, I was like, no, I was like, this is definitely not going to be easy at all. And it kind of ramps. Maybe it was just my experience with it from the couple of times that I played it. It kind of just ramps up in that difficulty as you go along. Things start out well and they go pretty well until they don't go well, and then it goes horribly wrong. And maybe that's kind of a Hellraiser staple. I don't know. These games do a pretty good job of capturing the feel of those movies, and since I'm not into Hellraiser, I can't really speak to that one. This is one of my least favorite ones in the Final Girl series that I've ever played. I don't know how often I'll come back to it. The location I thought was pretty bland and boring. The killer I kind of liked. I like the way the killer mechanic worked in this one, but the location I just felt like it was kind of bland and boring. it wasn't bad. Don't get me wrong. I still really like Final Girl. I still had a good time with this. Overall, I would rate this one at a 7.5, 7.5 would be what I would come in with this one. It's not a bad entry into the series. It does a lot of cool things. I think it was just not for me, and maybe that's partially because I'm not a Hellraiser fan. Let's move on from that one, and we will move on to The Killer from Tomorrow. So this one is it's Terminator, right? It's kind of based on Terminator, which I thought was a weird choice for a Final Girl entry for a horror game, because I've never viewed the Terminator series as a horror movie. That's always been kind of a more action movie theme in my mind. But this is very unabashedly Terminator. They do everything shy of just calling them the straight Terminator robot names, the T-1000 and stuff like that. This one, I really like the location in this one. I really like the Sunny Days Mall. I like it. I like the way it worked. There are some balconies that you can jump off of, and some mechanics that play into that. Stores that you can find. I really enjoyed the location in this one, but I wasn't big on the killer. I thought when I read the rules for this one's got a ton of little things with the killer and the location and stuff. I thought this one was going to be a lot more difficult to understand rules wise, not skill wise. All of these are very difficult skill wise, but I thought this one was going to be a lot more difficult rules wise than what it actually was. Once it got up and started moving and everything, I felt like it actually moved. I felt like it actually went pretty smooth. But when I was sitting there reading, I was like, this one's going to be kind of a lot to get used to. But it wasn't bad once I started playing. This one, so I don't feel like the mall and the killer went great together in this one. I don't really have a reason for that. It's just it didn't stand out to me. And maybe I'm not a huge Terminator fan either. I have seen them, but I'm not like a big major Terminator person. So maybe it would go better if you were really into that theme. But for me, it just didn't land with these two being together. The Sunny Days Mall, that mall kind of lends itself more to like a Stranger Things theme for me than it does a Terminator thing. I will say that despite what I said about Hellraiser and everything, this one was my least favorite one of series 3, and it was just because I don't know. The killer didn't really speak to me. I do want to take other killers and put them in this location. I really do like this location, but I just didn't care for the killer mechanics in this at all. He kind of comes back as a different version, or there's another version of a robot in here, and you're switching around. Once you beat one, the other one comes out, and you're kind of switching around the meeples and everything, and all that was okay. It just wasn't for me. I gave this one a 6.5. It's one of my least favorite in the series of Final Girl. I still had fun with it, but I don't see myself ever using this killer again. The mall, yeah, I will use the mall location a lot, but the killer it just wasn't for me. I just didn't care for it. So that is The Killer from Tomorrow, and then up after that, we have the Marrek Murders. This one was my favorite out of the series 3 by a lot. I really enjoyed the Marrek Murders a lot. This one is based on Saw. I'm a huge Saw fan. So this one, you're kind of stuck in a warehouse. There's traps everywhere, and you're trying to circumvent those traps. And the victims are getting trapped. The final girl's getting trapped. Everyone's getting trapped. And it's really unique mechanic for how to free people from those traps. And there's a little track that they move along that, as they essentially you try to free them from the trap, or you try to free yourself from the trap, you kind of go along, and the meeple is actually on the card, so you can't move around, obviously while you're in one of those traps. And I really like that because, once again, I'm a big Saw fan. I watched the original Saw. I've seen, I don't know, a lot of them, not all of them. There's a ton of Saws. There's like 10 Saws now or something. I don't know. I've seen the first 3 or 4, and that's as much as I can dedicate myself to. The other cool thing about this one is that the killer is very different in this one. They're not down your throat all the time. This one is mostly about the traps, and the killer is largely not present until the end of the game. So I thought that was really cool, and I thought that was really thematic for that Saw feel, is, you know, not having that killer breathing down your throat all the time, constantly stalking you, constantly doing this. It's more about the traps, and the trap mechanics are very cool in this one. I really, really, really enjoyed this one a lot. So that is the Marrek Murders. This one I rated a 9.5. I'm not 100% sure. This might have been my favorite. This might be my favorite out of Series 1, Series 2. This might be my favorite feature film out of all of the Final Girls. It'll take a few more plays before I can really land it there and say for sure this is exactly what it is. But I really, really, really like this one. I think this one is a great entry into the series. And this one kind of had the opposite effect of the Hellraiser one. The Hellraiser one, I thought it to be pretty easy until the end, and then it just went like boom, and you're just dead, and it's like, oh, okay, it's over. This one I kind of felt the opposite way around. This one, I won a couple times, but it was like it felt really hopeless until that very end, and like the whole time I was like, there's no way that I'm gonna beat this, and there's no way that I'm gonna win. And then in the end it was like, oh, okay, I actually did. I actually managed to win that. And so this one kind of gives you that hopeless, desperate feeling, and then at the end it's just like boom, 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 and everything went well. At least that was my experience. There's so many different variations of these, and setups and killers, and you would have to play them a ton before you could really get every single experience. But in my couple of experiences with it, playing it for the review, that is the way it worked for me. And it was kind of opposite in the Hellraiser. So if you like that feeling of doom and gloom, and then, oh, in the end, boom, 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 maybe I'll win, this one was really good for that, at least for me. So then, last but not least, we are coming in with Don't Make a Sound. Now, this one I really dig. I really dig the source material for this one. It's Tremors. Tremors was one of my favorite horror movies whenever I was little. They're kind of goofy, they're kind of silly in a way, but overall I really like Tremors. So I really liked the base IP for this, and I kind of enjoyed this one a lot. Just for that, because it brought back a lot of I have childhood memories of that Tremors. It's been years and years and years and years and years since I've watched a Tremors movie or even heard anything about Tremors movies. I don't even know how many of them there are now. I know there's 2 or 3. I watched those. But overall, I really liked that, and I felt like this did a really good job of staying true to that IP. There are, sandworms that come up and they devour the entire locations, and you put a token on the game board that just completely gets rid of that location off the board, and anyone that's in those spots just go down. And then there's also the killer is kind of out walking around, and he's blind, but he uses sound and things like that. So I thought that was a really unique mechanic, the way those two things work together, and I thought it came together really well. This one, very rules light. This one was, when I was reading the rules in this one, I was like, oh, this is okay. If you're starting with Series 3 and you haven't played Series 1 or Series 2, or if it's just been a while since you've played Series 1 and 2 and you're looking to refresh yourself on the rules, I would start with this one. I would start with Don't Make a Sound, because it's very rules light. It's a very easy way to get yourself back into this, and to help you remember how to play it and everything. Great first game. I think this killer, kind of the blind lurching, the way that all worked, I think this killer would be really fun in other locations. I haven't played it in any other locations yet, but I'm really excited to take this killer and plug it into other locations. And this location's fine, don't be wrong, I really enjoyed this location, but some of them, like the Happy Days Mall, you want the location and not the killer. This one, I really want to take this killer and plug it into different locations and see how that all works together. So I rated this one an 8. I was a big fan of this one. I like it. It's a great first one for the series. If you're just getting back into it, play this one first. If you're just picking up Final Girl, and you're just wanting to grab a couple of feature film boxes, this would be a good easy one to start with as well. So guys, that's my review for all of the new feature films of Final Girl Series 3. I really enjoyed these. I think this one overall was better for me as a whole than Series 2, but not quite as good as Series 1. So it felt, Series 2 kind of felt like, I don't know, almost like a departure in a way for me. I didn't I played Series 2. I liked them. I didn't play it as much as Series 1, and I just didn't have that magic feel anymore of like, oh, okay, Final Girl, we're going to do this. And this Series 3 kind of brought it back in. So I like Series 3. Series 1's still my favorite, but I like this one better than Series 2. That should cover everything. The new the new feature film episodes for Final Girl Series 3. Guys, I hope if you pick these up, you enjoy the reviews. I hope this helps you decide which one of these you're going to get, or if you're going to get them all, gives you a little idea of what's going on here. As always, guys, please like and subscribe below. It really helps us out here on the channel, and we will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.